All right, all right. Well, I finally got my H2D in, and just like many of you out there, we've been waiting a long time for this sucker to come out. Now, Bambu Labs, they're not sponsoring me with this. I got it through cashing in some points and whatnot, so I feel like I earned it. It wasn't given to me. So, that being said, I had been looking already, with the other guys' videos out there, other reviews, and checking out the specifications for it. Just from that, and of course, when I just unboxed it, I'd already developed my own, pros and cons even before I really put many hours into printing anything. Now, I'm not going to go through and do any unboxing or anything like that. We know that Bambu Labs, they do a great job on their packaging. This box was freaking huge. I forget how much it weighed, 50 or 60 pounds or so. So definitely get some help, when you're trying to lift it up, especially up to this level. I wouldn't take the chance of dropping it or anything like that, and don't stress your back. I'm still recovering from back surgery from all this stuff I've done over the years. And so I was able to put it up onto a low table, and I did my first inspections and everything there, and then got some help to put it up here. Now the pros and cons, I guess they developed, some of the pros were just like a no-brainer for me. Just a few of the features that I took a look and I was like, oh man, this is going to be great, right? Now, the first thing I noticed that I wanted to see, of course, was the size. This is a 350 by 320 by 325. Now, it's not the largest out there. There are others out there, like one of the Prusas and I guess the Creality. That's more like a 350 by 350 by 350. So this isn't as large as that. It's still pretty large. I don't think that was a goal for Bambu Lab, was to come out with the biggest. They came out with this size, and so far I'm happy with it. Right? There's been quite a few jobs and prints that I had to bypass because I didn't have the large format. So I was really looking for the large format, and I almost did, and I'm still, I don't know if I will or not, but still look at the Creality and maybe a Prusa. There's a bunch of them coming out, but we'll see how this goes. One other thing I love to see, I wasn't expecting this when I started looking at the specs and everything, was the dual hot ends. I thought that was a great feature. I wasn't expecting it at first, but when I started thinking about it, it was like, well, that's going to come in handy. There's so many different ways you can use this. The new AMS2, you can have one on each nozzle, right? And start pumping, multicolors through it. One thing that I was thinking of right off the bat was having like the AMS2, and then on the external spool, I was going to put some support filament, right? So I think that would speed things up tremendously. And if I'm printing something just with two colors, one color on each nozzle, that would really speed it up, and that would really reduce any waste, right? So there's multiple ways when you start thinking about it. There's multiple ways that this dual hot end is gonna and should really benefit, all of your projects, right? I guess the other thing that I was really looking forward to was the heated chamber. Now, I do a lot of ASA prints, and I've been using the P1S. Those are my workhorses, so to speak, and I do a lot of ASA printing with it. Now, inside, the parts aren't that big, so I don't have a whole lot of trouble with warping. And I measured it off, when I'm printing and just going over and over and just really working them hard, you're looking at 40 to 45 degrees inside just from operating it, right? And just from the heat coming from the heat bed, and the ambient temperature just increases. So with this, you can set it, what is it, 60 or so, and that will help tremendously, since this is a larger format. If you have some larger prints going on with ASA or ABS, it'll reduce the chances of warping, right? So that was one thing that I was really looking forward to. Now there's a list of little features and stuff that I was really surprised to see when I started looking at it. I mean, the build quality is excellent as usual, and when I really started, when I was calibrating everything and looking everything over, I was like, wow, they did this and this and this and this. So I'll go through a list really quick. Now, a lot of these improvements, they're actually stuff that we were, that many of us had been doing to improve, like the P1S or the X1C. And when you start taking a look, it's like there's a little list of improved features, so to speak. And the first thing I noticed, you can see the lights. The lights are much better than what they were on the X1C. Now they're bright, and I'm not going to have to install any LEDs and all that good stuff like I did on, like I had to do on the P1S and the X1C. The feet, you can see how you can jiggle it around. It feels like it's floating there. The feet are a big improvement, much better than what originally came with the X1C. Bunch of little stuff like here at the bottom. This is much easier to clean out. You can get your little, brush or whatever and brush it straight out. With the P1S and the X1C, you see it has that lip, and you have to put a little ramp on here or something to be able to sweep it out. With this, I just, grab it and, clean out, but this makes it much, much easier. And it looks like the nozzle cleaner here looks like it's different, and I'm assuming that it's going to be an improvement, given that on the P1S it had that roller, right? It had the roller back there, and it was kind of loud and obnoxious, right? With this one, it's been proven on the A1 and the A1 Mini. I believe it has the silicone brush on it, and they've been doing a good job. So they switched that over, and there's probably some more little improvements like that I'm overlooking. Oh, like the side glass. Before, like with the P1S, you have to be in front or at the top, so to speak. But like this is a standalone unit right now, and I can see inside from whatever angle I'm looking into it, right? So that was a big plus. Now these built-in vents, that's another improvement there. And I'm sure they have to have it vented more, especially if you're going to be using the laser version, and you got to really vent that out. Plus, now that it's a heated chamber, sometimes you're going to have to vent everything out and to cool it off a little bit. But you see this, that right there is a vent, and you'll see it pop open when the time comes. And then on the rear, you have this set of vents. And one thing I am going to do, now that we're back here, you can see how I have these ducts coming out. And since I do print a lot with ASA, I need to vent all that out, and I'll probably, do the same thing here. I'm going to put an adapter on it and run the duct and join in with these, because I'm sure I'm going to be doing some ASA and carbon fiber stuff, PA6 carbon fiber, but I do want to get that out the window. And the vents, you can see, like I said, that's another improvement on the P1S and the X1Cs. You can see where I put this riser on it. And that's so that there'd be room for LED lights. I added my own vents, open and close. And plus this little riser, it kept the PTFE hose from rubbing against the glass and wearing out. And that design, you can actually find these on Maker World. Just look under the V3 Precision, and you'll see these models. There's 2 different ones, I believe. And yeah, like that one here, you can see I put an on-off and then the temperature and humidity gauge on it. But now they've included the vents on this one, which is cool. So now there's another list of improvements or changes, should I say, that kind of surprised me when I took a look at them. One change that really surprised me was the slide rail. It's like, man, I was so surprised to see that. It seemed like the carbon fiber bars, rods going across, the X1C and the P1S, seemed like that was a signature feature, right? So are they proving not to be that great, and they went over to the slide rail? I mean, all my other printers, they've been doing great, so hopefully it'll last. I guess the dual nozzles, which we already covered, that one surprised me. But we've already talked about that. And then, of course, the options for this, I was so surprised to have it an all-in-one kind of machine. I really wasn't expecting to see versions with the laser cutter and normal cutter and, you know, exchangeable heads and all that stuff. I was like, wow, that kind of blew me for a loop there. While it might be good for some people, maybe not for others. And I think I'll be able to cover that, you know, through the cons here pretty soon. So, but we might as well move on into that. I'm sure there's other stuff once I really start spending some time on this. I'm sure I'll, you know, find other stuff that good or bad, but and then we'll cover the AMS after the cons on this. Yeah, so the laser cutter, that's the one that really bothered me, because while it might be good if you're limited to one machine, of course it's not cheap, but if you're just going to have one machine and do it all, you know, everything with one deal, okay, it's kind of good to have. And it looks like on some of the reviews, it's doing a good job too, right? But in my case, it's like, well, if I want a separate laser cutter, well, if I want a laser cutter, I'd rather have it a separate unit, right? It would be much bigger. I'd have more options with it as far as, you know, laser cutting different, like bottles or something like that, different shapes. And I don't want the laser cutter. If you've ever seen the soot or the remnants or just everything from the laser cutter, man, you're going to be cleaning this sucker a lot, right? When you look inside of that, and after you laser cut everything, it's going to be dirty as hell, right? And I'm sure that's why they have these huge filters now and all the vents and all that good stuff. That'll help. But just take my word, if you've ever seen a laser cutter, a big one that's been used a lot, it's like, whew, yeah. And you'll have to do the same with the vents. My brother has one, and we've vented it out the window just like I'm doing these. Plus, with the laser cutter, it's like, okay, it might be great to have, but you can't do everything at the same time. If you have a big project going on and you have a print that's going to take you 10 hours plus to do, it's like, well, you can't go to the next stage of laser cutting until this is done, right? So you're going to wait. You're going to wait 10, 12, 14 hours, however long it takes, and then do the laser cutting afterwards. But you see what I mean? you can only do one thing at a time. And if you have a separate laser, yeah, you can be printing something off over here and laser cutting over here. You know, it just saves you time. And I guess that's if you think of it in a production level, right? If your time is very important to you, then that's something to think about. So I guess to help make a decision, you need to crunch the numbers on these units, right? It's like, well, okay, it is kind of costly, even just for the printer and the AMS2, and I guess it's a feature versus cost. Is it worth it to you? Same thing if you get everything with the laser cutter and all that stuff, and crunch the numbers. Compare that to if you're gonna get a separate laser cutter. Well, which benefits you most? So crunch the numbers. It's easy to do. Just looking at the pricing on the web. But so far, that's it for the cons. So far, you know, like I said, I haven't put too many hours into this yet. But with the pros and cons, and I'm spitting out now, it's like, well, it's based on the fact that Bambu Lab has a pretty good reputation with their hardware. I've had really good experience with the printers that I have. It's a small print farm, but I use them heavily, right? And I've been getting great prints. The X1C, I've had it forever, and it's been a great printer. And then I found out, you know, once I started getting the P1Ss, these are my workhorses. I'm pumping, you know, production stuff through these, and they're fantastic. So I'm just assuming that the prints are going to be coming out great on this H2D. So, but we'll see how it goes. If I come up with something drastically wrong, sure, I'll let everybody know. So the last thing, I guess we can look at the AMS2, and so far I only have pros for it. It's great to see that it's a built-in dryer on it. That's something I was going to be making for the original AMS. I have a couple of them, and I was going to incorporate a dryer into them, which I still might, because once I start using this, it's like, all right, I'm gonna have to have one. And what else? The rebuilding, it's making it much easier to access the PTFE tubes, which is great. I haven't had too much trouble with this AMS yet. I'm sure I'll have to replace the tubes, and it'll kind of be in a pain in the butt to take it apart to do that. Not seriously, but it's good to see that they look that over, right? So far, I only have good things to say about the AMS2. So now I wanted to test this, and I'm just going to test it with a few items. There was just some specific tests I wanted to do with this, and of course, when I first got it out, first calibrated it, you know, you got to print off the benchy, right? And it came out really well, as expected. But then there's a few things I do want to print a lot of ASA through this, at least for testing now, and see how that goes. I want to test the heating chamber. I want to see how long it takes it to heat up, and then get a larger ASA print and see if it keeps it from warping, right? And then I'm sure I have some the PA6 carbon fiber. I want to test that along with support filament, right? Whether it be specific, you know, support filament, or if with the PA6 carbon fiber, I should be able to use some of my ASA as for support, right? And I will test that so I can test out the two nozzles and see how much better that comes out doing it that way. And then I have another item. It's ASA, and it's only two colors. So I'm going to try to run the two colors, you know, one on each nozzle, and see how much faster it prints on this as compared to my P1S with the regular AMS controlling it, right? So, well, let's get started on it. So before I started all my test prints, because a lot of it's going to be ASA and some PA6 carbon fiber, really needed to be vented out. I mean, it has the vents that come out, and so I designed and printed off this housing here, and it does use the factory screws from Bambu's version of it. And I'll probably have this posted on Maker World one of these days. And but it fits right on, it's pretty snug. You can probably still do a magnetized version if you wanted, but since the provision's already there, I just used the screws here. And actually it was the screws that came off of, this is for a scraper. Yeah, the screws that are for scrapers. And so there was a couple of screws that came in that pack, and I grabbed this out of one of my other printers, the P1S probably, but that's the size. I forgot to measure it off, like a 2 millimeter or something like that. And you can see the duct hose, and I spliced it into the current system, so everything's being poured out the window there. One thing I noticed, I'm getting this set up with ASA. You can see I have the white on the external and the red, and that's what this product uses, just the white and the red. And I'm going to compare the time and the quality to where I usually print it on a P1S there. But first thing I noticed is setup with this. You know, when it's it does the auto bed leveling, but when it goes through and does the auto calibrating with the dual nozzles there, and then plus the time it takes for the heated chamber to get up to 60 degrees. So there's a much longer waiting time before it starts to print. I mean, it's not bad, but it is noticeable. Well, there's the first result, and I'm going to have to do this again and look at the settings, because, you know, if you look at it right, you can see the kind of ghosting going across, and look at those rough edges on the bottom. And this is compared, this was printed on the P1S. You can see the good crisp lines. And the layering, you can see, well, I guess you can see them on both if you get the right angle to it. But there's definitely a difference. So you can see here, I've got the white spool of ASA drying again, which, you know, I don't see if it's gonna make any difference. I just want to be sure, because this came off the same spool. I just moved the spool from the P1S down here and moved it up here, and that's what I came out with. Another thing I noticed, and I checked the settings, and with this, the vent was totally zero, right? It was just sealed, so there was nothing flowing through the vents. And man, when I got into this room up here, I could really smell the ASA very strong. I mean, it was all trapped in here and leaking out or whatever. So nothing was going through the vents. which that's the whole purpose. I want to get that ASA fumes out of here. And with these, they worked great. I mean, I can run these with ASA all day long and I don't smell a thing in here. But so I'm going to check that and make sure the vent is on while it's printing. And the other thing, I started thinking about this, is like, well, I have the red on the right side and the white on the left, right? Why does it need this tower? With just the two colors, it's not really swapping, the colors are not swapping nozzles. So the next one, I'm going to redo the settings and print it without the tower and see how that does. All right. Yeah, I hope this is, and I'll make sure. I think these were identical when I looked at the settings, but I might have to tweak the H2D, and we'll see what happens. So here I'm comparing the time and the amount of filament used, and you can see this is the H2D, and you can see the total filament 44.15, and this is on the P1S. The total filament's 50.57, and you can see that's from. You can see here I do not have the prime tower enabled on this, since I have one color on each nozzle, so there should not be any need for a tower, right? So we'll see if that holds true. What's interesting here, the preparation time and time-lapse time and all that good stuff, the model print time is 1 hour and 32 minutes. The preparation 21 minutes and 7 minutes, for a total time of 2 hours and 1 minute. When you compare here, the preparation time is only 6 minutes, but the model printing time is 2 hours and 26 minutes. So if you compare, and then the total time 2 hours and 32 minutes. So while overall the total time, this will be 30 minutes faster, you can see the print time's only 1.5 hours, while it's almost 2 hours and 2.5, right? 2 hours 26 minutes. So just from having to print that tower and not doing it here, that's a huge difference. But the preparation time and time elapse and all that stuff, that makes sense, because with the H2D, you can see while it's prepping everything, but it also has to have time to heat the chamber, right? And it obviously, you can tell it takes a while. But still, overall, it's 30 minutes faster. Yeah, just don't know why. You can see on the preset the Bambu ASA had BBL H2D 0.4 nozzle. You can see there, it does not give the option for the exhaust fan. But with this one, the Bambu ASA for the X1C with the 0.4 nozzle, it does give the option. So it gives the option on the P1S, but not on the H2D. And the only thing I really see difference is, of course, this is with the Studio. The H2D is on Bambu Lab Studio, but when I print through the P1Ss, I'm using Orca Slicer. So is that the difference? Orca Slicer gives you the option, but Studio doesn't. Interesting. And I don't think, yeah, Orca Slicer doesn't have, doesn't look like they have the H2D up yet. So I'm going to go ahead and print this off, this same part. Even though I cannot get the exhaust fan to go, it does not give the option for the H2D for some reason, but it does for the P1S. But I'm going to go ahead and print it off just so that I can see if the settings I do will give me a clean edge, and see what happens when I print without the tower, right? But not having that exhaust fan, that's kind of huge to me, because I mean this room fills with the smell and the gases, whatever. I mean, if you keep coming in and out of this room, by the end of the day, you're going to have a pretty good headache, and it does make you sick. So you got to watch out. Yeah, so it's just getting started. Looks like it's doing okay, but I can smell it already. I mean, yeah. If I can't get those exhaust fans going while I'm printing ASA, then I'll just keep using it on my P1Ss. You know, that's kind of important to me. That's kind of a health issue, you know what I mean? Alright, it switched right over to the red, no problem. And I think that is great. That's going to be a huge time saver and a lot of waste saver, you know what I mean? Well, not bad. It definitely saves some time not having to put the tower on, and a little bit better up this backside. There's still some rough lines there. Not good, not good. And I did use a different red this time, but that's coming out fine. It's down here on the bottom for some reason. This is the one from the P1S, and it's much better. That's too bad. I'm gonna have to play the settings some more. Yeah, I was hoping to get some better prints. I'll have to play with some. I'll have to play with the settings a little more and find out why it's doing that on that back edge. But I guess I'll save a lot more of the testing for a different video. It looks like I'm going to have to do a lot of tests and separate it from this video, right? This is going to take a long time. But and I want to find out why I can't use the exhaust fan while I'm printing this stuff, you know, especially ASA or ABS, right? You got to have that vent, and I even have it, you know, I've shown you before. I have the ductwork going out, so it'll shove it all outside. But man, when it's printing here, I can enter the room and I can smell it. It's not good. I mean, you can't stay in the room while it's printing off. Not on this one. But we'll see how it goes. I guess that's one of the cons so far. But we'll see how it goes on the next prints. Well, I think that is about it. I am really excited to have this H2D. I'm really excited to print some more with it in the future, and I think it's going to be a great addition to my printer farm here. Just a few notes before I sign out here. Pay attention to the amount of power that it's using. In the recent past, I had these three printers up there. I had my X1C here and the A1, and even going through a UPS and have everything plugged into here in the rear. I had the printers going, and I think I had a dryer going also, and it was blowing breakers. So you got to really watch out, especially at home. This is just one of the rooms in my house, and it's a 30 amp breaker that's on it, and it was blowing them. But luckily I had the UPS on here, so it handled it. So when I got this in, I moved the X1C and the A1 into my office, into a different room, and we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it does okay. Hopefully I can run all 4 printers at the same time, but we'll see how that goes. Just pay attention to the power that you're using. And in the future, what I'm hoping they do, once I start printing with this, I sure hope they do the same thing that they did like with the X1C. In the past, the X1C was their flagship model, and then they later on came out with the P1S, right? The P1P and the P1S. Well, with this, I sure hope they do the same thing with this H2D and come out with like a P2D or whatever, a slightly scaled down version, without the laser, without, all these other provisions on it, and scale it down a little bit and make it a workhorse for a print farm, right? I think that would be great. That way you have the larger format, you have the simplified a workhorse, right? That's what that's what I hope to see in the future anyway. Well, I guess that is it. I'm sure I'll report in later on as I rack up some hours on this thing, and we'll see how it goes. But I guess that is it for this video. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch for my next video.